subscribe to my channel. Living with inside me, but it's like I'm being seduced over and over by Supreme Leader Snoke. I'm getting this 3rd degree burn on the 64 3rd degree burn. Yeah. Chaos searing Lord of Flames. Keep fighting the chaos that lives inside me, trying to hold down the beast, but it's hard to do that because everybody angers me and triggers it. I live in this world, this Kansas City, second city of sin since Vegas, where I'm tempted by the darkness. What's up, my fellow Archfiends of Chaos? And we're gonna be finishing the Final Fantasy VII, a week of Final Fantasy VII kick with this last Final Fantasy VII related video. This has something to do with the remake. Since the remake has now really come closer, since Mr. Nomura's son has actually confirmed he's working on the remake right now a little bit with the team and stuff like that. Since Kingdom Hearts 3 has already been made. Now, these are actually elements I actually want in the Final Fantasy VII remake that comes from the compilation. And this is stuff that may or may not happen depending on whatever situation, they're facing. Now, the things that will happen, for sure, is Vincent falling in love with Lucretia Crescent, Lucretia Crescent giving birth to Sephiroth, trapping herself with Crystal Cave. Zack dies and gives the Buster Sword to Cloud. Zack fought Sephiroth during the Nibelheim incident. The stuff that's in the normal game, which Nomura's son has actually says going to be in the game. So we're not going to talk about those kind of things because those kind of things are already going to be most likely confirmed. We're going to be talking about out of the Final Fantasy canon, that is in the original. Now, to start off, I want more homages to Crisis Core. Even if it's in G reports or A reports for Angeal, or in a flashback, Zack talks about Angeal or stuff like that, or we see a picture of Angeal with information during the Shinra building or something like that, or if we even get later on, if we ever even get the spirit live stream spirit version forms of both Zack and Angeal, but I don't think that's going to really happen. But I'd like more homages to Crisis Core. To start off would be Angeal being referenced in there as the first owner of the Buster Sword. The second thing for Crisis Core I want into the game that I really gotta have is Genesis, references to Genesis. To show him off in the Nibelheim incident, just like Crisis Core with better graphics. Now, this might be a little difficult because that's using Gok's image, and Nomura had to call Gok to, say, hey, can I use your character for the remake of Final Fantasy VII? And that's why Crisis Core is the only one that has it. And remember the copyright thing with this stuff. Even though that's his favorite character to play, it's still a Steam issue. But if they could throw in Genesis as well as Angeal, as well, and then also make him one of the reasons why Sephiroth, trashes Nibelheim and burns the whole place on and fire, and it burns the whole place down because figure out what he is. I think Genesis was actually a good character on the fact that he actually is the one who caused Sephiroth. He's actually relevant to the plot as much as Hojo is, and he's as much as fault for everything that happened at Final Fantasy VII as Hojo is. Even though Genesis is much younger, Genesis had that final push because Genesis wants to destroy the world because he feels that the world has failed him. As I said before, Genesis would actually, now, only references. Now, I don't think we're going to meet Genesis. I don't think there's going to be a Genesis DLC boss battle or anything like that because he's going to be trapped in the cave sleeping, but I think we should have at least G reports laying, at least G reports, if nothing else. If not even the Nibelheim incident or Genesis's appearance, maybe G reports laying out there, and talk about the Nibelheim incident and how Genesis was connected, or Cloud gets a flashback of when Genesis tried to take the S cells when he was still in his Mako sickness and Zack protected him. Maybe even just that. But I'd like to be able to have more homages to Crisis Core Final Fantasy VII, since it's a direct prequel to the original 7, and it's not, and this is something even the fan base can agree with, because the fan base actually liked Crisis Core, and I actually like Crisis Core myself. I thought Crisis Core was a good game too. I mean, even though Dirges is my favorite of the compilation, I do like Crisis Core for what it is, and I kind of wish they would release one on the PS4, even just as a PSN download as it is. You know, and this would be a good reason why to release, even if not an HD remaster, but a PSN copy of Crisis Core, like they did with the Final Fantasy VII original. This would give a good reason to release the compilation like that. So, yeah, any references to Crisis Core would be actually another thing I want in the remake of Final Fantasy VII. You know, which is just small texture changes. Costumes from Advent Children, Crisis Core, and Kingdom Hearts in Final Fantasy VII. If they're gonna make you be able to wear the cross-dressing thing as a costume, maybe because how realistic the game is, you could actually switch costumes and switch weapons. So you could probably be in cutscenes wearing the Kingdom Hearts or Advent Children look for Cloud, even though the Advent Children Cloud has not existed in the game. Remember, Resident Evil 1 Remake was allowed you to play as the new buffed Chris and the new Jill. So if they do that, then it's 100 possibility that that we can have both the Crisis Core and the Kingdom Hearts and the Advent Children look for Cloud Strife as a costume. Another thing I want as another homage to Final Fantasy VII from the compilation is references to Professor Grimoire and the Valentine family, you know, as also a full detailed background story of Lucretia and all the visions she saw regarding her birth son Sephiroth, and everything to deal with Vincent Valentine and his father Professor Grimoire, because Professor Grimoire has pretty much chipped in and helped with the creation of Soldier as it is, since he's actually tested a theory on Deep Ground. I think it'd be a necessary step to actually, you know, understand. And also, Professor Grimoire not only was on the Chaos Project with Lucretia, but he also had at least a little bit of things to do with the Genova Project. You know, since he was around at the time. So he knew Hojo, and I'm pretty sure he knew Professor Hollander and Professor Gas. So anything with any maybe reports saying reports that Vincent Valentine finds that is his father's reports that he's actually stuff he's recorded for the Genova Project, and also a little bit for the Chaos when you go through the side quest with Lucretia. Maybe you'll be able to go and have an interactive cutscene with Vincent, where he finds his father's reports. So that's another thing I would also like to references to the Valentine family and stuff like that. Also, references to the Wutai War would be good, because it's one of the major wars Shinra has fought in Crisis Core, and it was actually one of the longest wars. And during that time is when Genesis deserted and soldiers started falling apart. So any references to the Wutai War would be actually a unique thing. And even in the original game, it was actually briefly referenced that the Wutai War happened. Maybe Yuffie can remember something, or maybe when she meets Cloud this time, she'll mistake Cloud for Zack, considering he's wearing the same outfit as Zack a little bit, and he's carrying his Buster Sword. Maybe Yuffie confuses him for Zack. Those years ago. But Zack didn't have the Buster Sword back then, but we get the point. You know, spiky hair and a soldier uniform. So I think maybe that would be actually something that could be played as references to the Wutai War, because the Wutai War is one of the most important aspects of the of Shinra. And Final Fantasy VII has a lot to do with Shinra, the Mako, the live stream, and all that stuff. You know, Mutai was a really important war for Shinra. And remember, Cloud it used to be affiliation with Shinra, even though he wasn't a real soldier. He was still part of Shinra. He was still working with the Shinra organization, and the Avalanche, the Shinra organization, at one point in his life. But also, I'd also like to be able to actually be able to start with the whole what happened in Nibelheim instead of the other thing. But if not, you just make it like the original game where you can make a playable Zack and a playable Sephiroth during the flashback cutscenes, as well as a playable Vincent in the Turk era. In the Turk era days where he interacts with Lucreti, except to make that more interactive than anything else. And I would not sell his DLC because it's going to be an interactive chapter. You know, maybe a Hojo boss battle for young Turk Vincent Valentine. You know, and he loses. But maybe
we're also working on a Vincent Valentine web series, fan trailer at least. So please support JTS Productions if you want to see a Vincent Valentine, trailer. And then hopefully one day it becomes a web series. So there's that too.